Hello, this is Sean from SW Inspections. Today we are going to be taking a look at the new wind mitigation form. It's changing a little bit, so things that you need to know. So let's jump right into it. This is the new form. It has expanded from 4 pages to 6 pages. It's the draft rule tied to 690-170.0155. And its effective date is going to be April 1st, 2026. And before we even start, this is not just a redesign. This form is longer, more technical, and written to remove a bunch of gray areas. So it's, to be honest, a good thing and a bad thing all rolled into one. But it's the wind mit form, so it's always been weird. Let's get into it here. Question 1 is the building code. And the main thing that is happening here is we are actually separating FBC 2001 and FBC 2007. So it's the same criteria, built in 2002, 2003. We have to do the application date on or after this date. Same thing for 2007, and then they want 2007, 2008 on or after this. And then if it doesn't meet any of those requirements, it simply goes down to unknown. So not a big change, but a relevant change. Let's see, question 2 is completely new. So it's an entirely new question to begin with. It classifies homes by design wind speed. So what we're going to be looking at is the high velocity hurricane zone, which we are not in. Region 1, which is ours, which is 140 plus. And then this is more the Orlando area, and then you're talking about more northern Florida. But for our purposes, we're in this category. So to prove that, which this is going to be checked by default on my reports because it's the region that I serve, we simply add this guy right here. So this is the region 1, 140 plus mile an hour, and explains why we are in the 140 mile an hour zone. And like I said earlier, this part right here is my coverage area. So that one's pretty obvious. We want to know what the wind speed is going to be in our particular service area. So after that, we move on to number 3, which is, again, a new question. So now they're wondering about roof slope. So roof slope is just pitch. It's roof pitch. And it's very simple to test for. When I'm up in the attic, I use this device right here. And I take a picture of it, and it tells me what the slope is. Slope sounds complicated, but it's not actually really that complicated. When we talk about slope, we're talking about rise over run. So the rise over the run. So 612 would be 6 inches up per linear foot. If it's less than 612, we mark that it is less than 612, which would be right there. And if it's greater or equal to 612, we mark that. The roof covering section here, we have added one section here, which is the synthetic composite tile, which is nice because we're starting to see a lot of different roofing products come onto the market that are not asphalt, clay, metal, built-up membrane, or roll roofing or something like that. They're actually synthetic composites or polymers, plastics, all sorts of interesting new products that are coming on, available for clients and homeowners. So that's nice. So we can talk about that. And it also cleans up some stuff. So if you have no documentation, they're pretty much making it very clear that you have to put no documentation. So they're asking for very specific information. So we have to make sure that it's accurate. Other than that, it hasn't changed too much, other than the fact that they just separated these 2 sections. This one's going to look pretty much the same. This one just has an extra one right there. So when we talk about roof deck attachment, the main thing that has been added here is it's talking about spray foam, which is right here. So now we can do a roof deck attachment with spray foam if it meets these requirements. Just like every other section of the report, we have to prove everything. So normally we check C because it's an AT ring shank roofing nail. Take a picture and check the box. With this, it's spray foam, so that's going to be a little bit different, and finding proof of that is going to be a challenge. So we're going to see how that plays out, but there is an extra option now to include spray foam, which is a big difference now. Next, we move on to roof-to-wall attachment here. And again, we're clarifying and making sure that things are not slipping through the cracks, right? So we're starting to talk about uplift capacity now, a little bit more than we have been in the past, and they're starting to explicitly start to talk about uplift capacity, And this has changed just a little bit. So the toenails, this is pretty much normal. You're going to be used to that. If it doesn't have any metal reinforcement, it's going to be a toenail. Or if the metal reinforcement doesn't meet the requirements. But here we start to talk about other things. So when we talk about the metal connectors with a minimum of 3 nails, so that would be your clip or a strap that only has 3 nails. Let's see, metal connectors consisting of single strap wraps over the truss. So now we're talking about double wraps, and then purpose-made metal connectors or structural fasteners. So that can either be structural anchor bolts, like when you would see a giant condo complex with concrete walls, concrete ceiling, concrete roof deck, or now we're dipping our toes into the retrofit field, right? So when a building is retrofit, they often can't embed something into the bond beam, right? Because the bond beam is already set. So what you'll see is an L bracket that is put on the truss right there, and then they screw into the bond beam, tapcons or metal connectors, screws, and then they screw into the truss. So this is giving us a little bit more clarity on what retrofit standards are now, and that comes with installed per manufacturer installation specifications to meet the details below. So they're clarifying this section here to make sure that everybody knows exactly what we're looking for. And then we're also starting to talk specifically about uplift capacity. So 386 pounds for clips, we've got 535 pounds for single wraps, and then we go all the way up to 891 for double wraps. So this might get a little interesting as the finer details start to emerge on the requirements and the actual documentation for all of these things. I don't foresee any major changes here other than clarifying the retrofit. It may require a bit of additional documentation from the retrofit contractor. We're going to find out when that happens. So moving on to roof geometry, this basically has not changed. It's the same thing. If you need help learning how to measure a roof, just give me a call and I'll walk you through it. 8 has changed a little bit. So we're now, just like before, looking at spray foam products in a different way. Before, when I'm up in an attic and I see a spray foam product, spray insulation encapsulated attic space, I take a picture and I say I can't see anything. I can't see trusses, I can't see clips or straps, I can't see nails and nail spacing, I can't see secondary water resistance. All I see is insulation, right? But if we walk into those situations and we have spray foam and we have the documentation for that spray foam, because remember, it needs to apply installed along with roof deck intersections, all panel joints, etc. And it also needs to apply with the uplift resistance, right? And that's going to be difficult to come by, but we'll figure it out as we go. But that gives us another option to make sure that we can document the structure as accurately as possible and make sure that people get the discounts that they're entitled to. But we've also really clarified the sealed roof deck, the SWR here. It used to be that the only thing that was considered a sealed roof deck was a peel and stick underlayment, right? They literally peel it and put it right on the deck. Anybody who's been working with me for an extended period of time knows that my way of testing for that is simply taking my business card and putting it between the roof sheathing, and it sticks. You take a picture of it. I mean, you can literally see it up there. It's a sticky black membrane. But now they're splitting that into 3 different sections, and that has to do with Florida Building Code. So there's 3 different ways that you can modify this or mark this as a sealed roof deck. 4 if you include the spray products, but that's a conversation for another day. The fully adhered polymer modified bitumen is going to be your standard steel peel and stick membrane. If we go over here to where this actually matters, here's the roof assemblies from the Florida Building Code as of 2020. And what we're looking for here is the 3 different ways that you can, according to Florida Building Code, put a secondary water resistance, or at least what they considered a secondary water resistance. So option 1 is the literal sealed roof deck. Option 2 would be simply putting the tape over the seams, so same product, but used in a different way. And then you have a standard underlayment. And then the third option would be no tape seams, just a doubling of the underlayment. So that's number 1, number 2, and number 3. So it's getting a little bit more complicated. What's interesting about that is between 1 and 2 is difficult for me to tell the difference because I don't have access to the top of the roof. I only have access from inside the attic. So how that's going to play out is going to be interesting over time. We'll figure it out one way or another. We always do. Opening protection has changed just a little bit. What they have basically done is added a section called Z, right? And Z has to do with damaged openings, right? So that's a question that comes up often is if an impact rated window is cracked, is it still providing its impact resistance? I would argue the answer is no. They are single use. Once you have a cracked impact rated glazing, then it's no longer hurricane rated, right? So insurers are now asking, at least according to this form, why, or rather, if there are any damaged openings. So the Z section here is acting very similar to the X section here. So, and it's all openings, so any of these could have damage done to it, whether that be from a hailstorm or hurricane or tornado or whatever, or just a lawnmower picking up a rock and throwing it at somebody's house. If we have all impact rated everything, but there's one opening that has a damaged glazing, a crack in the glass, then essentially you take away the A credit, and now they move down to Z, which is essentially the same thing as X. So they would need to make a repair to one or multiple openings to make sure that they can get the credit that they need. So it's going to be interesting to see how that works out. It seems very similar to X. So if there's one opening that is not protected, you protect that one opening and we can move you up to an A credit as long as it's an approved product. It seems like the same thing would happen with Z. We just simply need to have that opening fixed. And the rest is pretty much the same. They have clarified a little bit of this section right here. They're trying their best to clamp down on a little bit of fraud, which we all know has been a big deal in Florida. It's the reason that we have the insurance woes that we have. So they're specifically saying that if you rely on this report, you're subject to an investigation by the Criminal Investigation Division, the Bureau of Insurance Fraud. And that could be up to a felony. So, this form has to be accurate. Every single day I go to people's houses and I fill this form out, and we make sure that it's accurate to make sure that they're getting what they deserve, but if they still have room for improvement, they need to improve it. And of course, the insurance companies are doing secondary inspections and all of these things. I would argue that they're not the quality that we do, but they can take away credits if something is not right. So that's why we always do it the right way the first time. Make sure that we document it correctly. And that's pretty much it. So some changes, but the form is basically staying the same. It's what does your house have that, or your condo, or whatever. What does it have that prevents damage in the event of a wind event like a hurricane or a tornado? But now they're asking for a little bit more information. Manufacturer documentation for secondary water resistance that are spray foam. If you have a retrofit done, that's going to require a little bit more documentation, probably be accompanied by invoices from a licensed contractor, maybe even up to an engineer, an architect, depending on the size of the building. I mean, if we're talking about 30-story high-rises, that might elevate to that level of scrutiny. The reality is that I don't know how the back and forth between you guys and underwriting and the clients and us and all those things are going to happen until we start seeing it once the form rolls out after the 1st of April. The good news is that we've already made all of the changes necessary to make sure that the transition is smooth. Hopefully. There's going to be snags, there always are. But the software people already know what they need to do. The changes that we've made in the report that we're already doing now with the slope and the windborne debris region will help move things along. And then it's probably just more documentation. So hopefully this helps. It's a quick overview. The reality is that I could do an entire video on every single section of this report, and I probably will, because every single question has so much nuance to it. You can really get stuck in the weeds with every single thing that is actually required and needs to be documented. But for the moment, hopefully this was a quick overview and it helps you transition into the new wind mitigation form. And as always, if you have questions or need help, you reach out. Have a good day, friends.